Well, welcome to my office, and I'm going to give you a short briefing on what happened yesterday at Council. But before I do, I should sort of make reference to two things. One, slightly sort of odd thing on my lip is, in fact, the initial stages of growth. Probably more than can be said for my head, which is because of Movember. So many of you will know that because of the campaign that's been launched just very recently. And what's behind me is our resident artist, in fact my son, my 5-year-old son, who's part of the reason why I'm doing Movember. So apologies up front if my little tash is a distraction to you for the next couple of minutes. I just wanted to update you just about a few things that happened yesterday. So at Council we discussed 3 or 4 things. The first thing I was going to mention is the strategy plan. Now many of you will have taken part in kind of providing great input and stimulus to that plan through the First Rate Regulator initiative. So thanks very much for the quarter of the profession that took part in that. Through the plan we now have a very, very clear purpose indeed, and that is to set, uphold and advance veterinary standards. And I think that's probably for the first time in a while where we can literally in a snapshot encapsulate precisely what we're here to do. We also talked about the 5 areas of focus that the organisation is going to have over the next 3 years, and in particular the service agenda. I know that's caused a little bit of controversy in the profession because there's a sense, who are we trying to serve? Well, we are trying to serve you, the profession, and the public as well. And we need to offer the very highest standards of professionalism that we can do. And I really urge you to look at the strategic plan. It's online from next week onwards, and you'll really be able to study it with, I hope, a good sense of what we have planned over the next 3 years. Second thing we looked at was the new charter, and in fact Stephen May, when he introduced the new charter yesterday, said this is a historic day for the RCVS, and it is, in the sense that it's the first time for nearly 50 years that we've actually discussed a new charter with a view for it to be implemented by 2015. And the new charter will take into account the strategic plan, but also the work that we currently do as well around practice standards schemes and around regulating veterinary nursing, and include all of that within the new charter, which means that for the time being at least we don't require a new Veterinary Surgeons Act. The process means that we need to consult, and we'd want to do this anyway with the profession, and we'd really encourage you to take part in that, and we'll start launching that in the next few weeks. And then it goes to the Privy Council a couple of times later next year, and ideally for approval and in place by 2015. Third issue we looked at was the budget, and we reaffirmed our commitment not to put up fees for next year, so that'll be the 4th year running. I think that makes us a particularly good value for money regulator. It does mean, of course, that if we had put fees up over the last 4 years, fees would probably now be about 25% higher than they are. So I hope you agree with us that we are actually good value for money. The final area that we looked at yesterday in quite a lot of detail was the risk register. And we looked at that because it is an issue that council members really need to own. They really need to own all the risks. I mean, clearly it's for me and the team here to make sure that those risks are not realised, but they really need to understand what are the challenges we face as an organisation. And you might imagine we held that in private, largely because organisations, when they're going through this process, don't like to expose all their risks publicly to everyone at quite this stage. One of the things that's worth reflecting on, and I know personally because I receive a lot of calls, a lot of emails, I see people around the country every week, I still do that, and please invite me to your practices if you think of it. But I really do hear feedback from the profession that some recent cases at disciplinary have not been particularly popular, and to some extent have been a bit confusing in terms of what's come through. It's disingenuous to think that we haven't heard that. We really have heard that loud and clear. And Council yesterday did have a discussion around that. And in particular, a number of people made comments about the fact that we really have improved our disciplinary function over the last many years, even before my time. We've looked at and we've implemented the health protocol, the performance protocol. We've also looked at other measures that have brought us in line with best practice with other regulators. That doesn't mean every decision is going to be popular. In fact, it'd be quite wrong if every decision was popular. And in fact, if you looked at the GMC, many of the decisions they make are really unpopular and actually rather confusing to the general practitioners that are being governed by that body. But it does mean that we have a responsibility to put in place the right processes, and we believe, and so does Council believe, that we do have the right processes in place. The system is not perfect. No system is perfect. But I do believe it's a system that is robust and fair, and that was fully endorsed by Council yesterday, which I'm delighted about. I hope this has been useful. And I hope that you follow my blog and perhaps also follow the progress of my growing lip, well, the thing on top of my lip. Thank you very much.